morning, good morning. Monday, it's November. And I guess, I don't know, lots of time changes wherever, all people living, so maybe people came here an hour ago, or they're going to be an hour late, no idea. No time changes for us, of course, it's the same all the way through the year. Okay, look at that wood grain. Not wood grain, the pattern in this wood, an awful piece of wood actually. There's a strange, you know, under the knife I can feel it, you know, the light parts are quite soft and the dark parts are quite hard. It's cherry. This is one of the old pieces of cherry that we recovered from an old woodblock. The one I showed you before, it's been burned actually. And it's really dry and brittle. It's really hard, but it's really brittle. So we wouldn't use it for a normal woodblock because the brushing would wear it out. This is going to be a Karazuri block. So it'll never get brushed, it just gets pressed, which is fine. This is cherry. Pretty wood grain, not for me. No, thank you. So it's funny because as you turn it, the wood grain changes depending on the light. I was trying to take video yesterday. I'll need a video for explaining next year's series, so I've been trying to take bits and pieces of video. And at some angles, like this angle right now, it looks great, but I can't carve that way because it's the wrong direction to the desk, you know. So I tried moving the camera around. Very interesting. Anyway, we'll be going at this now. The lamp behind me, it's got our company name. What you see as kan, it's actually Mokuhan Kan. Mokuhan Kan is the name of our company. Mokuhan Kan, the place for woodblock prints. Okay, today's stream, what we're going to be doing here today is, of course, we're going to be carving this Karazuri block on these cranes. I have a show and tell, a pickup. We hinted about it last week. And there's also a couple of things to mention. One I'd like to pop in. I'll just put in the link right now. Where are we here? I can't. The link actually is too long. It's a long threaded link. So I can just put this link in. If you go to the top page, I'll just put the link in for the top page. This is the top page of the collection. We've had this link before here many times. If you go to this link and look for the tab that says search, open the search tab and then look for where it says open the search pad tab at the bottom and scroll down. It says quick browse mode. Go to the quick browse mode and jump to the end of the line, 24, 25. Over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, mostly yesterday, I put over 600 prints into the collection. Busy boy on Sunday. More than 600 prints went into the collection. A feast, an absolute feast, an absolute feast. What are we working on today? It's one of the blocks, one of the two key blocks, key blocks for next year's January subscription print. $600 prints into the collection in one day. Kira-san, I always forget. It's Monday. Look at that. Interesting.
I'm late today, so it's a little bit.
Oh, so. How you doing?
I've had an interesting week. But good.
You okay? Good.
You like it?
I was doing video. For the new series next year, we need a video to announce it. So yesterday I did lots of collection work yesterday, and then I was trying to make a video, which means new camera position. I'm trying to get closer. It's all new lights. So look at this, super bright, new lights, new video. Paper's out. Yes, thank you. Paper's out for Ishikawa-san. She's already here working. She's already busy upstairs.
Ishikawa-san?
Ishikawa-san's here. She's printing upstairs. She's printing on the December print for this year's print, so this year's subscription series. So, bunch of new people here. Look at this, Raiders video, 51 Raiders. Well, I better get to work here instead of talking.
I did as well.
Hey, okay. I forget where we're at. You're just pressing away. Okay. Hey. Kira-san, she's working on the flea market stuff, getting more and more flea market prints up in the catalog. Not sure if the camera's bouncing today. There's a new camera setup today. As you heard me mention to Kira-san, I'm trying to take some video yesterday, so I was trying to get closer. So instead of the camera on a tripod next to the desk, the camera actually is sitting on the desk. So if I bang the desk, it's going to bang the camera. We're actually on a footing. So there's no way I can't do any hammering today, because the camera is actually sitting on the desk itself. But I think we're okay. We're a bit closer than we normally get. New members here, new people watching the show. Good, thank you. The question about the paper freezing, we worried about this when I first started freezing the paper. I was worried about that. You think about freezing water, it expands and breaks down cells and stuff like that. Why meat and whatever. But it really doesn't seem to make much difference. And if anything, it's a positive. The moisture in the paper, when we unfreeze it, defrost it every morning, the moisture creeps through the paper in a really nice way, and the paper is just in beautiful, beautiful soft condition for printing. We have no way to test historically what it would be like 100 years from now, but I really can't see how it could be damaged like that. When the paper itself is made, you can get paper all year long, but really most of us want to get paper that was made in the winter. And the paper makers too, they themselves work much better efficiently in the winter. They work in freezing cold water. And for a few reasons. One is when they do it in the summer and everything's too warm, their process takes so long that there's a real risk of mold and stuff growing in their vat. So for them, winter is safer. They can make their paper without putting preservatives and stuff like that inside it. But also the paper itself, just it's stronger and harder and just more, what's the word, vigorous. It's a more vigorous paper. So if I had my choice, I would always prefer paper that had been made in the winter, you know. And then for ourselves as printers, working in the winter is just a natural way here. Everything gets soft and soggy and moldy in the summer. Those are throwaway cuts, eh? They're called stebori, throwaway cut. By cutting that part first, before I cut the line, it means there's less pressure on the wood that's on the line itself, you know. As I cut now, the waste wood is going to move. You can see it's moving out of the way. So there's less pressure on the line that's going to be left behind. Not sure what will be happening in Asakusa today. It was a very, very busy weekend. The last 2 days are jam-packed out there. And we have a holiday. I think Tuesday is a national holiday in Japan here. So it could be that there's people that are thinking this is sort of like a long 4-day holiday weekend. But Monday today is an official normal day. Post offices are open, stuff like this. But after the weekend with Tuesday being a holiday, doesn't affect us at all. We're just simply working away by ourselves. You know, Asakusa was crowded, but we're still closed. I forget the holiday. Maybe Culture Day or something? Is that what it is in November? I can't remember. Culture Day. Maybe. Bunka no hi kana? The thing about the cells, you know, the cell walls and stuff, the mulberry here, of course, the bark fiber grows, and it's pounded and pounded and pounded to within an inch of its life. It's been, what's the word, I don't know, when they use meat, it's tenderized, I guess, whatever. So the mulberry fiber here, it's boiled within an inch of its life to remove all the, I forget the word, hemocellulites or something. I can't remember the science behind it, but So somebody's talking about this here, so I believe so. The cells themselves, I think the structure has been actually broken. I don't know the science. I can't see that down deep inside the thing. All I know is that from the way we see and feel and touch the paper, the freezing process doesn't really seem to hurt it at all. And as far as the moisture content, it makes it soft and supple. And if you show me 2 finished prints, or any number of finished prints, that the paper had been frozen or not, there's no way I can tell you, I can tell them apart. And we've tried doing it long. The longest time I froze some paper in what was the year? I can't remember. 2004, and it was not 1994, 2004, we froze some paper and didn't bring it out for 10 years. And continued the print, the same print was continued 10 years later. The options to this, are much, much worse. In most workshops, they're using formaldehyde when they prepare their paper, moistening for printing. They will get a jar of formaldehyde, get a cap full of it, mix it with water, and throw it in there. And there's no way. I absolutely refuse to do that. I don't really know if it's going to hurt the paper, but I know who it is going to hurt, and it's us. So we won't do that. So we use a combination of things. We use the freezing at night. Then we scale our runs. When you think of how long it takes to make a print, start to finish, the paper has to stay moist all the way through. And if there are a lot of sheets or a lot of copies, if you're making many copies of something that has many colors, then the paper has to stay wet for a long time. So we scale back down one or the other of those things. We don't make too many copies at the same time, so that the printer, after making the paper moist, can get to the end within a few days of work. If not, the only other way around it is to put preservative in the paper, and we really, really, really do not want to do that. I remember Seki-san, the guy who lives in Hachioji. He's long, long dead now. I visited his house a few times, and the first time I visited there, get out of the station and walk towards the house, just a normal house in a normal residential area. They're expecting me. I ring the doorbell. The voice comes through the intercom. Hi, come on up, come on in. I go upstairs, open the door, and it was like walking into a hospital. Just instantly and my eyes started watering right away. And it's the formaldehyde smell. He'd just been moistening a batch of paper, and you just walk into the living room and the whole house smells like a hospital. He's gone now. That's 6. Oh, I know something I meant to mention today on the stream. In my news feed last night, maybe somebody's already talked about this, but in my news feed last night, there was a story from the New York Times. And rather than tell you what it is, I'll just pop, where am I here? It had 2 links in it, and I laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed. Here's the first link. I don't know if the New York Times is open. I know open to people who don't subscribe. I think they do. I think you can read a few articles. Here's one. You can tell by the link there what this is about. And then the company that's running the actual product itself is this link. And what they're doing, there's a picture in the New York Times article, they're doing this outside because it's virus and whatever. They've got a huge screen set up, they've got tables set up as an instructor, and all the materials are ready, and the Bob Ross thing plays, 30 minutes of it, and you do your thing while you're, watching it, and under the guidance of an instructor there. So they are really flogging that one. It's kind of too bad that Woodblock Prints can't be done like that in 30 minutes, because it would really be fun to play with that idea. But as you can see, this is not the kind of thing where you can start to finish in 30 minutes, So. Oh, sure. Lots of question answers. Good. Thanks for the regulars for answering the questions here. Thank you very much. The wood grain you're seeing here today is unusual. This is not what a normal plank of cherry looks like at all. Not at all. A normal cherry plank will look something like this. It's just got more of a generic wood grain. The one today, I chose it, even though it's got a funny grain. It has the characteristics we need. It's good and hard. It's quite brittle because it's very, very old. But we're not going to be brushing this block. This is a block that is for pressing the paper down to give it the embossing effect of these bird feathers. So this is a bit of a strange, unusual block. You won't normally see wood grain like this. On next year's series, this is the first one of next year's series. It's going to be, kacho-ga. The genre in Japanese, kacho, is literally flower bird. It's a genre of images, flower bird pictures, nature prints basically. And we've chosen 12 of them, but we're not sticking exactly to the literal meaning of the word kacho, flower bird. They're all going to be nature prints from the same era, all by the same designer, Koryusai. But we're not doing 12 birds. 6 of them are going to be literal bird flower prints, like this one. The other 6 are going to be nature prints with different animals, including even a dragon. So we're stretching it a little bit. But one of the reasons when we were trying to choose what to do, if we go back a half a year or so, when we were starting to think about what to do for 2021, when the idea came up, among other things, to do a Kachoga series, when the idea was first tabled, both John-san and I, we went, yeah, let's do that. And like a couple of the printers that were in the meeting, they're like, why are you suddenly so excited? And both John-san had the same thing, because the feathers, if we do a bunch of bird pictures, it means we get to carve feathers, and they are so cool. The curves. It's just sort of classic, perfect work for us. It's not difficult. There's not a bunch of small, tiny circles. The feathers just make classically fun carving to do. Kacho-e, kacho-ga. It's a different kanji. E is picture, ga is picture. I couldn't even tell you about the details of the nuance behind them. E is the E in ukiyo-e, ukiyo-e, pictures of the floating world. Ga is, I don't know, is there a difference? Picture and painting, is one of them painting? Ga was originally the word for a painting. E was the word for an illustration. I don't know. But then, these days there is no such nuance in them. So kacho-e, kacho-ga, illustrations of birds and flowers. Yeah, I don't know, John. I don't know. And the other thing about the change this year, these prints are all very much, and as far as the technical style of production, they're very much more of an ukiyo-e style print. For the past couple of years, we've worked in something closer to the 20th century shinhanga style, and the printers have really learned a lot. We've really increased the skill level of our workshop by a staggering degree. But also, the printers really would like a little bit of a break from that. The multi-layering is really difficult to do. It's heavy on your shoulders kind of work. I mean, mentally heavy. Whereas ukiyo-e printing, one color, get them lined up, maybe overlay one color, very few overlays. It's clean and clear and light. There's the same work, it's the same pressing, the same rubbing. But ukiyo-e is a very much lighter mood and feeling in the workshop. Both of them upstairs today, Ishikawa-san today, and I think Rei-chan, they're finishing up that last one. And if I said struggling, that's the wrong word for it. But it's so difficult to balance the depth of the tones in those shinhanga prints. And they can do it, and they've done it, and they've worked very well. But they really are looking forward to a different kind of mood on their benches for the next year. The printers who work for us who aren't working on the subscription prints, people like Kubota-san and Yamamoto-kun and Chiharu-san, they don't get that because they do different stuff all the time. Every week for them it's a different kind of print, a different kind of job. I just send them the ones that we are lowest in stock on. But the 2-3 girls upstairs who've been doing the subscription prints, for them it's the same thing every day. And they're professionals at it, but you have to keep them in mind that they need some kind of variety and structure and trying different things. So they're really looking forward to this next project. It'll have its own challenges, of course. In a traditional ukiyo-e print, remember explaining to somebody about this a while ago, and I think the expression I used was, there's nowhere to hide. There's nowhere to hide when you're printing an ukiyo-e print, and as opposed to shinhanga. And what I meant was that every single dot of pigment that you put on the paper is actually going to be visible in the finished product, because it's all transparent pigments and there's so few overlays. Everything you put down there is going to show. So you can't hide it later, you can't cover it later. With the shinhanga things, there's so much overlaying that some of the earlier impressions you do actually don't get visible. They're part of the overall mood and feeling, but they're not specifically visible. So this is a year where they're standing on stage, and the audience listening can hear every single note that they play all year long. More raiders, more raiders. Good grief. Welcome, welcome, people. 149 people are visiting. Okay, welcome. I know it's difficult to explain what's going on here to people that haven't seen it before. This is woodblock printmaking. We're cutting pieces of wood that later will be used to make prints. We're going to rub pigments and stuff on the bits of wood that we carve, and when you press paper on them, it comes up as a picture. So I can't show you a picture today here, but this is one stage in a long process, weeks of work to make pictures. And cutting the blocks like this is one of the steps in that stage, one of the steps in that process. Sorry. The towel guys outside, the Oshibori people, eh? It's Monday again. They're always busy, busy, busy on Monday. The bars and stuff were packed last night again. But we got some sunshine, you know. I thought it was going to be a gray day, but it might actually be a nice day. The camera's pointing towards the sun, so it shows a bit of a washed out sky, but it's actually blue sky out there today. What's the question? Why do you need old wood to use as a template for printing on paper? I'm not quite sure what you're asking. I know the piece of wood I'm using right today is old wood, but normally we don't use old wood. We, arrange with trees, cut trees down, slice them up, dry them up, make our wood blocks. So the wood doesn't need to be old, but we are making templates, yes, cutting shapes in wood that then print. And the advantage to this, even though it takes quite a long time to cut the wood blocks, once they're ready, we can print bang, 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 bang. So we can make many, many copies of the prints from each of the wood blocks. So although the process seems time intensive, it seems like it's going to take such a long time, why don't we do something quicker? Well, modern printing, offset type printing, whatever, is of course quicker. And it suits most of the world. They want quickness and efficiency. But for us, we want a specific type of image, and it's an image with a three-dimensional feeling to it that needs a relief printing plate to be carved. Very, very different from offset printing. And it takes a long time to get the blocks ready, but it's well worth it because the finished results look so cool. And the blocks themselves will last for many, many years. The blocks that I carved when I first came to Japan in the mid-1980s, we've still got them and we still make prints from them. I think the most we've ever made at the moment, I think the Great Wave is our single biggest one, and we're over 2,000 copies now from the same wood blocks. So yeah, so even though it takes a long time to carve them, it's worth it in the end. Jed was chatting with me the other day. He's got an offer from some possible client in America who would like to make some woodblock prints with us, a fan of Jed's, a fan of our work in the Ukiyo-e Heroes. And they've approached us about the idea of making something for them. And we're kind of busy, so we really can't talk too much about that. But as part of the price negotiations, the question came up of how many prints would be made. One idea that clients like this frequently want is to have a limited edition. They only want 100 prints and no more. And if that's the case, then all the costs, the cost of making the blocks, carving the blocks, making the actual prints, the costs of everything has to be wrapped up into 100 sheets of paper, which means the finished prints get kind of expensive. But in the case, the way we do it, where each of our blocks is going to be used for many, 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 many years to make prints, all the cost of the carving doesn't have to go into the first 100 sheets. It can be spread around many years. So what we pay the carver up front is one thing, but it comes back to us again and again and again if we keep selling prints. So this request that's here at the moment, when I replied to Jed about what I would like to do on this or what I can do, I sent back to him, please, as much as possible, try to make this into a project that is an open edition, not a limited edition. So the work that we do making it will be work that is productive to us for many, many, many years instead of just one short project. Another truck? Is that the garbage truck? What time is it? 8:40 or something? If that's the garbage truck for the Korean hot dog, they will be filled today because it's Monday. They were jammed again all weekend long, so there must be a ton of garbage down there today. We've also got the ongoing mystery on the other side. The two shops next to us, the next building to us, the one that used to be a shoe store, became a kimono store. They closed, and now it's supposedly becoming a restaurant. Construction still hasn't started yet. It's just frozen. They cleaned up, they came in, did some measuring, and then we've seen nothing. It's been absolute silence now for nearly a month. Then next to them, the new crepe shop, Asakusa Crepes, they came in, did their renovation, built an entirely new kitchen, new stoves, new stuff, new everything, aluminum, all shiny steel. They built a new front to the shop, wrapped it in plastic, and then quit. I have no idea. There's just nothing happening there. So very, very curious what's going on with the two shops next to us. The other people on the street here are actually not so happy about this, because now that Dave is still closed here, our shutter is down, we're not open. With that shop next to us closed, the one next to them closed, too many shops on the street closed, and it sort of kills the mood. And people start walking down the street and they just quicken their pace and walk on and get out of there. So the other shops are not happy that it's looking a bit deserted. Coming along, hey, nice. It's such pleasant work, such pleasant work. Lots of conversation. I'm sorry not to be able to take part too much more. It looks like John and some other people here are Koringami, yeah. Great, looks like good conversation. This is saying financing fell through. I don't know. In both of those cases, I wouldn't think that's a factor. The crepe place, the construction was finished. To get the lease, you pay 6 months in advance. You do all your kitchen work. I mean, the big money parts are gone. Now it's just like open up and start selling crepes. And the next door one, the one that's going to become the beef izakaya, that's a well-established family. They have many other businesses in the neighborhood. So it wouldn't seem also like financing should be a problem for them. I don't know. I would have thought they would have got to get going on this right now in order to be open for the new year. So I don't know. Part of it could be labor. There's always in Japan in recent years a chronic labor shortage. You can't get the people for the work you want to get done. And the construction next door may be this case. The construction company simply is backed up, and there's like, we'll get to it as soon as we can, lady. But so I don't know. But no reason to suspect any specific problems. Probably simply just labor, I guess. Neither of those businesses will be targeted at foreigners, so the current closed situation of the country would make no difference to them, I think. There was another and a very funny experience. I should have brought the piece of paper down to show you. Maybe we should do that in the next stream. There was a piece of paper dropped into our mailbox over the weekend, Saturday or Sunday. And this mail delivery in the mailbox, but lots of times in the mailbox there's flyers. The local pizza shop will come along and the boy will drop the flyers in the mailboxes and stuff. And in the mailbox on the weekend was a little scrap of paper. It's just a little scrap of paper like this. And it was handwritten and then photocopied. So they must have handwritten this thing 5 or 6 times, put them on a copy machine, bang, 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 cut them off, and dropped them in the mailboxes all around. So this is not an official sales flyer. Somebody would get a flyer ready, they put the company name on it, do your text, put your pictures in, offset printing, there's your regular flyer. This was a handwritten thing, partly typed, partly handwritten, and then photocopied, cut crooked, and then dumped in a mailbox. And it was advertising a piece of land for sale down the street here. It didn't give the exact address. It gave the address of this couple of blocks and said 3 minutes walk from Asakusa Station. And it gave the size. And it's land for sale, it said. And the price was, in US dollars, $2.5 million. And the size was what they call in Japanese 14 tsubo. A tsubo is 2 tatami mats. So this is roughly 28 tatami mats. If you know a Japanese tatami mat, it's like 1 meter by 2 meters, a little bit smaller than that. So 28 tatami mats, and it was 2.5 or $2.6 million on a handwritten piece of notes stuffed in the mailbox that said, "Call us quick if you want to move on this." And I'm like, what kind of country am I living in? So the thing is, though, that's sort of actually not so unusual. And when I bought my house in Ome, I didn't work through any kind of real estate agency. It was a little paper deal between me and the guy who owned it. I hired a notary public to do the legal part of it, because the property transactions do have a legal aspect to them. But it was the same thing. It was back of the envelope where he and I sat down together with a sheet of paper and put some numbers on, and he said, "This is what I need," and I said, "This is what I've got." And I bought a house that way. It wasn't $2 million. We're talking about a tenth of that, 200,000 or something. But quite often, that's the way it does work in Japan, So I wasn't actually all that surprised to see this. But what I am surprised to see in that thing, and that's the real question, in fact, which is why I'm going to sort of follow up on this a little bit. The land in this whole district is all owned by Sensoji, the temple here. And as far as I understood, they don't sell this. They lease it. You're allowed to stay on it. You pay them a fee. We are paying our landlady who owns the building. We are paying her rent. And she, in her turn, pays each year a certain amount to Sensoji for using their land. And she doesn't actually have a contract for that. She's got an agreement for it. They agree that she can stay there and put a building on it, and she agrees that she pays them a certain amount of money. But it's all very, very, very informal. There's a little black book with some of this stuff written down in it. So I was surprised to see this thing, which is this marketing thing, which actually clearly says for purchase. And I didn't think that was happening around here. How's our time? We're still okay? Coming up to 9, no problem at all. kids pranking Dave. So. Now this is a strange district for sure. Strange district, you know. And especially when you talk about land transactions and stuff, it's going to be full of shady stuff, you know. Well, I won't be replying to that memo. I don't have $2.5 million in my pocket to do this, but you know, whatever. But the curious thing about us too, of course, seeing if that is a real valuation of some property near here, then of course it does affect us, because we're clearly in a time now here in this area of very, very heavy property inflation. Most of Japan property is devaluing as the population crashes, as the economy has trouble with all the virus and etc. But there's a few particular places in Tokyo that are the other way around. The Omotesando Harajuku area is always flourishing. Shinjuku is strong. Nihonbashi is trying to be, Nihonbashi and Ginza. Although they're losing a bit because they have a bit of an image for older people, whereas the younger people are Shinjuku, Shibuya. But Asakusa recently, and I say in the last year or so now, has very, very, very heavily transformed. And it's now becoming a kind of magnet for younger people. Not the little girls who go to Shibuya to buy clothes and stuff, but the young people in the sense of 20s, 30s, couples. This is a place where they now come to eat and drink, whereas before they were always headed for Shinjuku or Roppongi or stuff like that. But Asakusa is repositioning itself as a place for younger people. And that's inconceivable. When I first came here, it was just old guys. It was the horse race track and tourists and just older dudes. Younger people wouldn't have been caught dead even thinking about coming to Asakusa. They wouldn't have been caught dead here. And yet now it's becoming their town. The guy across the street who runs a whale restaurant, he just shakes his head now. We're just standing outside chatting now and then, you know. And the street is full of all these kids going back and forth, and you know, and he's just like, it's the end of the world. You know? But the landowners don't care, because the shops go and the shops come and the shops go, and if something goes out of fashion, that shop disappears, and there's always people ready to jump in and try something else. You know? So the people who own the land don't care what activities are going on here. They just get their rent anyway. conversation. I can't catch this. Feels funny like that, cut right through the eye. Look at this, here goes the eye, bang, out. It's on a different block, of course. The image on the block here did for 2 blocks. We carved the eye and the beak on block A, and the body lines are going to be on block B. So even though it's one picture, more than one piece of wood combines to make it up. So that eye that just got carved away is already on another block. So. Again, throwaway carving first. Carve the outside of this thing first, so that now, carving the line itself, the wood can escape. Look at that, the wood just escapes up out of the way. All the stress goes into the waste wood, and none of the stress is left on the line. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Good. Yeah, it is on the key block. This isn't the key block. The other block we looked at a moment ago. If we find the same location here. There's the eye and the beak, and we're now carving the stuff that's in this area around it. If I get the same orientation. There's the eye and the beak. Oh, that's this one actually. That's that eye and that beak. The one I just carved off is up here. There we are. So all the eyes and beaks are on the key block, which will pick up black ink. This will be printed in black. The block I'm carving now will be printed in nothing. It'll just be shapes. It'll be embossment in the paper. The cherry wood actually is really, really hard. It seems soft if you see it all flaking away here, but it's actually very, very, very hard wood. The scale we're working at, any hardwood actually seems a bit softer. Would soaking overnight? No, 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 no. Any moisture, even if I made my finger and put it on the wood here, I couldn't carve that. Once you make it moist, it just becomes soggy. The knife doesn't slice through it. I need dry, dry, dry. Moistening does not help in any way with carving, ever, ever, ever. Now this one's fun in quotation marks. There's a line here, and all these feathers come in and end on this line, same as they did over here. So how do I make all these corners? Well, we don't. Step one, I'm just going to carve right through here, lightly. There's a put the blade in deeper, and then just skate across the surface here. I'm actually cutting all of those hairs, but we won't pop them out. Feathers, not hairs, feathers. Decide where the ends are going to be. Let's just start in the middle here. And out it comes. Looking good, looking good. Is making mistakes a thing of the past, or do I make mistakes all the time? All the time. Sometimes we mention it, and sometimes we don't. Whatever. Look at this conversation. I cannot help this. I'm sorry. Do I know if there's a Japanese phrase for thinking out of the box? As in an idiom, you mean? I mean, you can explain the idea literally, you know, 普通の考え方ではない, not a usual way of thinking. But I don't know of an idiom that says the same thing. I don't know, I'm sorry. I don't know. Do I make the art myself? No, I do no drawing pictures. The image we're doing today was back in the I think it was 1720 or something like this. I don't know. This is a reproduction, an ukiyo-e reproduction. Here in Mocha, Hong Kong, we make original prints and we make reproductions. This one is a reproduction from way back. It's 1720 or something. We've taken a part of the image. This is a color copy. We've taken a part of the image and adapted it. Most of our work is making new illustrations, but the people who do the carving are not the same people that do the designing. There's 4 different skill sets here. There's a publisher organizing the business, a designer who does the drawing, carvers who do the carving, and printers who do the printing. It's a complete breakdown of a division of labor. So many new people today, just names I don't recognize. Sorry about this. It's difficult to answer all the questions from new people, so sorry about this. So John's pointing out, so nobody in Japan thinks outside the box, of course. So whatever, it is a normal country these days, so whatever. So thinking outside the box. I'll have to think about that for a bit, but no. Or it's an expression Dave doesn't know because he would never use that sort of thing. I don't know. Working for show and tell, right? Oh, soon. We have good show and tell today. We have really, really, really nice good show and tell today. The main thing I'm going to show you, I showed it and teased about it the other day, that little envelope full of small prints. But I brought some backup material to show along with it. So. back when I was first carving this kind of stuff, you know, the long line with all the side ones on, I would pop this and crack this so many times, you know. These days it's not an issue. Bringing the knife down and knowing exactly when to stop. Where are we? 9:15. It looks like it's time, right, Michelle? We have good show and tell today. So we have good show and tell today. Let's have a look at some stuff. I've got the camera. Let me give you a bit of earthquake. Just a second. Let me move the camera for a second here. Oh, I can't. There's a wire at the bottom. Soka. Oh well. We'll make do with what we can do here. Woodblock's out of the way. Zoom out. Let's get this outside camera out of the way here. Space. Good. Okay. As I said, we were looking at these match label prints the other day. This came in from a Yahoo auction last week. And what it is, we go back to, this is the 1920s and 1930s. This particular set is from the 1930s. And these were collectors' groups. The origin of these things was actual match boxes. On matchboxes full of matches, people smoking, stuff like that. It became a custom for bars and restaurants here and places that were dealing with smokers to put images on the match boxes. And in the beginning, the images were just advertising the bar. Come to our cafe and stuff like this, blah, blah, blah. But over time, some of the bars and restaurants started to put more fancy stuff on these actual boxes, and the thing split into two genres. So there are now match label collectors who collect the match labels from bar such and such, and the picture of the naked girl in the front and a hotel and whatever. But also a group of collectors groups came into being, where people would get an idea themselves among the group. A group of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 guys out for drinking or making poetry or whatever. And they would have an idea. Let's make a set of prints about such and such. They would either hand in sketches or just ideas. They would all put a bit of money in the pot. The job would go to Woodblock Printmaking Company. A set of prints would be made, and they would come back, and the guys would collect them. They would stick them in little albums or just keep them like this. This went on all through the teens, the 19-teens and the 20s and 30s. The war put an end to it. After the war, there were still a few Senschaftler groups, but match label groups, I'm not aware of many match labels being made after the war at all. The set we're looking at today, this is dated, it says, Showa 8, Showa Hachinen, and August, September, October, and November. It's a commemoration of an event that went on for 4 months in Showa 8, which I believe is 1933. I looked this up the other day. So this set of match labels was to commemorate the Kanto Air Defense System training sessions that went on for 4 months. And from August to November of 1933, there were air raid training sessions going on in Tokyo, it seems. I know nothing about this. And the set of 10 commemorative prints shows the different activities that were taking place during the air raid training sessions. We have, of course, searchlights shining into the sky. We have anti-aircraft guns, small ones and larger ones. We have, there were dogfights. This is like biplanes. Look at this. This is searchlights training on how to catch the planes up there. Now this one I'm not quite so sure what the point of this part of the training exercise would be. I think they're called barrage balloons. They've got tethered balloons up there, which are perhaps intended to help stop the jet fighters, not jet fighters, whatever. These two, I'll save these for a minute because I have no idea what they are. We have smoke screens, planes that were dumping smoke to try and hide so people couldn't, the bombers couldn't see. Civilians are training with their gas masks. And this is the blackout warning in your house. Hide all your lights so they don't shine outside on the window. And these two, they're listed in Japanese. It says rappa, giant trumpets that make noise. And I have no idea what a giant trumpet that makes noise would be doing as part of an air raid defense system. And this one also, and this says super microphones, super sensitive microphones. And what would they be doing? Listening for approaching bombers? I haven't any idea. No idea at all. And this is 1933. This is 15 years after the First War ended. The First War, Japan was together with Germany in the Axis, whatever they used to call it, whatever. This is 1933. There's no active war on. It turns out that in 1930, I should have looked this up, 1936, 37, Japan went to war with China. And then in 1941, as we all know, Pearl Harbor, Japan went to war with the rest of the world. But this is 1933. And for a 4-month period in 1933, the Tokyo population is doing all these training exercises, ready to be bombed from the air. 1933. Anyway, whatever the military part of it is, these are the woodblock prints. We're seeing 10 separate prints here. These would have been made in a long piece of wood all together, printed together, and then sliced up and sent out to the collectors. Now this one is very, very nicely made. This is a new series to me. I had never seen this series before. 1933. If you're curious, this is already in our collection. I put it in the collection over the weekend, so these prints are already scanned and photographed and in the Moko Hong Kong collection up on the website. And these now will go up into one of the albums and they will be tucked away in their permanent home. Now that wasn't enough, so what we did was, the guy who sold this to me, it turned out he has a whole bunch of this stuff and he was going to be feeding them onto Yahoo auctions one by one, one by one, one by one. So in the email back and forth after this, he said, "Are you interested in some more of these things?" I'm like, yes. So what he did was he didn't want to sell them to me directly. I guess he's got this deal with Yahoo, or Yahoo's trying to circumvent. We've had the email back and forth inside the auction system, so you can't send them separately. So he said, "So here's the link. I'll put it up in 5 minutes. You bid on it, and I'll take it down." So we did this. He put a bunch of these up. I put the bid in, and he closed the auction, and out they come. In fact, I can show you the link for one of these. Just a sec. Where are we here? Yahoo auction, closed. Here's one. No, wait a minute. Where's the 20? I got too many links here. Where's the guy's name? You keep on. Here we are. Here's this set. Actually, this set, he had this up before and nobody bought it. And this is a bit of an interesting set. The set we just saw was the complete set as it is. Sometimes for a more extensive set, when their sets had 30 or 40 or 50 prints, it was a big financial deal for the collectors. And what they would do is, as each set was finished, they would then make a bunch of ceremonial, commemorative prints to show that the main set was finished. And these 20 prints come from the members of the group, one of these groups, and these were the prints that were made in commemoration of a larger set being finished. And funny, we were talking about kachoga. And these are a small kachoga. Now look at the scale here. There's Dave's finger. These are birds. This is in celebration. This is the guy's name. There were 20 in here. And what did I pay for it? 3,000 yen. So that's $30 for 20 of these prints. And these are hand-carved, hand-printed, normal Japanese woodblock prints. And they're all in celebration. It's Yamashita, must have been the guy who sponsored the original set that is beyond this. And these are all the celebration messages from other members in the group to Yamashita-san. They've got their own name in here. This is Nakao-san. He's sponsoring this as a celebration to Mr. Yamashita. This is from Maruyama, group member. And if I thought about trying to make these myself now, these are just tossed off. I just spent $30 on 20 of these. So these cost me, what, $1.25 each, $1.20 each. We couldn't make these. I mean, this is almost the same complexity as the normal prints we were making each month. They weren't made one by one. They would have been made in groups, maybe 8 at a time or 10 at a time on a woodblock, carved and printed. And the delicacy here, oh, here's a carp climbing a waterfall up into the trees, wow. And it still astonishes me that nobody wants these, they sit on the auctions and go around and nobody knows what they are. I think a lot of people out in the world, they assume that this is just printed labels, like the cigarette cards that used to be around when I was a kid. But these are actually handmade, hand-carved woodblock prints. The scale. This set just arrived last night, so it's not on the website yet. The other series I just showed you, they're already on the website. If you go to the collection and look for the match labels. What gorgeous little items. They're just printed so delicately. Look at this, the gradations to show. The gradation of the sky. There's a gradation up from the bottom here, from the sea. There's a gradation on the hill. They've just gone to no end of expense. So, beautiful, beautiful condition. In Japanese these days, they're referred to as generally matchdaber. And if you search on Yahoo Auctions, sometimes they will come up with match labels. There are other terms for them, which I'm not going to really tell you because I don't want a whole lot of competition here in the auctions. Kantar, keep quiet, okay? Don't tell everybody the keywords. Do I know how many Mokuhanga items are offered daily on Yahoo Auctions? No idea. It's more than I can possibly look at. No idea. I can't keep track. I've got my own keywords, stuff that I'm interested in. The rest of it, it just goes by. It just flows by hour after hour, day after day, day after day. Look at this. This is white pigment. This is white pigment put on these ones. And here's our date. This is Showa 12. Showa 12. The last one I showed you was 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15. This is 1937. These were all made in 1937. And I guess really the prints here, this is the last gasp of these match label prints. Because once the war started, that was the end of that. And this didn't really come back after the war. For a couple of reasons. Well, culture had changed, society had changed, but the major big change in the woodblock world after the war was what happened to the Japanese standard of living. Before the war, the yen and dollar were well, it was a normal for that time, but from our point of view today, it was a bizarre relationship. The yen was a third world country type currency. Dollar was first world rich total currency. So I don't even know what the numbers were, but in general, dollars were worth a fortune. Japanese currency was worth not much. And also the standards of living here. It was really a very low standard of living. The craftsmen who did these things, they were very skilled people, but they lived very poorly in hovels, very small houses. They had no car. They would never ever dream of something like this. They were low-level workers on the scale of things. But after the war, Japan very much moved towards being a much more egalitarian middle-class type society. So everybody wanted a basic standard of living. And the point being that a craftsman like this, they still was work for them, making ukiyo-e reproduction prints for the Westerners, but the staggering amounts of time that it would take to make products like this made them no longer commercially possible whatsoever. And it is for me too. Suppose Dave wanted to make a set of these right now. I could do it, we could make them, but they would be hundreds and hundreds of dollars for the set. And these back in the day it was just cheap stuff. The people who collected these could just pick them up easily. I don't know the numbers. I don't know what a set like this would have sold for or what it would have cost them to make, but it was cheap, cheap, cheap. They were in cents. The currency at that time, we talk about now yen, and yen did exist before the war, but the daily currency was the sen. It was a compartment of the yen. Was it 100 sen in a yen? A sen means 1,000, so maybe it's 1,000th of a yen. I don't really know. So a yen was actually a big deal. To have a yen would be like having a $5 bill or something like that. The daily currency was the breakdown inside the sen. But the exact, what you call it doesn't matter. It's the relationship. And after the war, of course, things dramatically changed. And things like this now are simply no longer commercially viable. An absolute gorgeous. And for me, I spent $30, 3,000 yen on this. These will go into our catalog. We're going to preserve them. We're going to show them to the world. Just, it's an astonishing, absolutely astonishing thing. We talk about the old days when the foreigners first came to Japan and picked up all those original Utamaro and Hiroshige prints and stuff because the Japanese were throwing them away. It's the same thing still happening. Stuff like this. The Japanese are throwing them away. Generations from now, well, I do numbers, whatever, they'll be worth a fortune. Here's how we keep them. We keep our match label prints. We keep them in postage albums like this. I've got small scale postage albums, and this is how we keep our match labels. For the most part, we have two kinds. We have sets, full sets that we manage to get as sets, and then we have just bada. Because lots of people just put them in boxes and shove them in shoe boxes, and they come to me now in groups like this, just random groups, and sometimes in broken sets. This is a set, we have no idea what the key is. Eventually, if we get enough of these things, bit by bit, we can put together the sets again. This is funny. I put this up on the collection last night. This is it's a gag set. This is a gag set. And it's uncut. The collector who got this decided not to chop them up. It's a gag. It's whatever. There's a woman and a man here. And the illustration here is something that a man can't do. And the section for this is something that a woman can't do. And I would presume, I guess, the woman can't pee in public. And as far as this thing a man can't do, you tell me, she seems to be sitting on a toilet knitting. I guess the idea that men can't pee and do something else at the same time, I'm not quite sure what the gag is on that one. This one, urayamashi koto. This is a really, wow, this is a wonderful thing that we're seeing. A couple out together. Oh, isn't it so nice? She and her husband walk together outside. We turn around on the front and his facial expression shows, nope, oh yeah, he's been roped into this. He doesn't want to be here. So these are sort of sarcastic things. This one is fun. This says servant, master, that the master of the house and the servant. So here we see this, the guy is the boss, he's relaxing reading a book, and waiting by his side is the servant. The next two panels show us the real situation for this. It's his wife and him, and what's going on? And it turns out that he's marked as being a yoshi, which means his wife got in her inheritance from her father. There were no sons in that family, maybe a rich family, rich business, whatever, and she's a wife, she's a female. So some other guy had to come in from outside, marry her, change his name, and he then is her partner. But he's actually a yoshi. It's not his inheritance, it's not his money, it's not his house, he's the guest. So here's the real status. With the servant lady, he's the boss, the danna, which it says, but with his wife, he's the one, oh my dear, can I have some pocket money or whatever. So they're totally cynical. I was asking Sadako the other day, I couldn't read one of the kanji here, and I was like, but what is this woman doing in the toilet? So I asked Sadako, and she says, what are you doing with stuff like this? She was, it's sarcastic and cynical, men and women, so she was not upset, but she was like, oh, what are you interested in this junk stuff for? There were minor shunga with these things too. Some of them are porn. I won't be showing any here today. Broken sets, look at this, it's a zodiac set, and the goat is missing. One day the goat will show up, who knows? This is online now, a set of 16 prints devoted to details about thunderstorms. Okay, enough. This could go on all day. We have thousands and thousands and thousands of these prints. This one is cool. This is some famous kabuki actors of the day, and must be a Chushingura. They're all marked with the insignia of characters from the Chushingura. And these also, again, these are all online as of last night. Go to the collection, look for the page where it says browse the whole thing, and go to the newest items. And how close we can zoom in. These are so cool, so much fun. And the scale, literally, it's a match label. That's about as far as we can get. And the scale here, now just again, one of those birds ones that we just looked at a few minutes ago. Here is the scale. Just astonishing. The lettering, everything's carved by hand, printed by hand. Anyway, if you want to drink in some more, as I said, go to the link I gave you a few minutes ago, mochahankan.com/collection. Look for the newest stuff, and they're here. And they're a gigantic, gigantic resolution. Gigantic resolution. We also have a bunch of wood blocks for some of these in storage too. Okay, I had better get out of here. I have a ton of work waiting for me to do in here, an absolute ton of work. I'm shipping today. There'll be a new FedEx box going. So if you've been waiting for a Great Wave or something from the US, the latest batch will be leaving today for the US. Okay, I am going to be out of here. Thanks very much. It's been a bit of a funny stream. I get lots and lots of new people, it seems. So thanks again for the regulars for answering the questions, to all the new people coming around here. The link again, the Mochahan collection. It's easy, mochahankan.com. Where are we? Here's the collection itself. Go to the search box, look for the quick browse mode, and go to the right-hand side, the newest prints, and you'll see a ton of prints just like this. Again, hundreds of them went upstairs, or went online yesterday. Okay, cup of coffee coming from me. Thanks very much. See you in 3 more days, Thursday morning for me, Wednesday night for you guys. Thanks again. Bye-bye for now. Look at these things.